Hey guys, Ben here with Stringer Bridge Farm, and today I'm going to do something that might end up costing me and I might regret, but I got some pretty good reasons that I really want to give it a try. And if you look at all these cows kind of swarming around me, even got one. Oops, she had her head stuck in here. But yeah, anyway, I may regret it, but the cows I think have an idea of what I'm up to, and we're gonna see how this goes. If you guys want to hang out with us for a few minutes, give this thing a try. I'll explain it as I go. So those of you who've been keeping up with the channel, I'm sure remember this summer annuals plot that I planted. So I think the bulk of the biomass here is actually these cowpeas, which may have some fear of bloat or something like that, but all my cows are on green grass, and you can see they're actually in the seed phase right now. There's a few dry pods, but for the most part it is mostly green beans on it, or green peas on it. But the other constituent in this field is the sorghum sudangrass, and you can see kind of with this one, it definitely has some amount of heat stress, which has given me fear of prussic acid poisoning. But a lot of them really don't show much signs of stress. You can see they're very green, maybe a few brown spots, but they've been growing for several months. It's not like this is fresh growth. You know, they've kind of gotten into the stagnant growth and they're going to seed. So I think a lot of it is just natural senescence, even though there is a little bit of heat stress. Let's see what these cows do when we let them in this. Grazed this area twice this summer with the sorghum sudangrass, and the other primary component was these cowpeas. And we got into a really bad drought, and I got nervous about grazing this stuff again due to the prussic acid with the sorghum sudangrass. So I got really nervous. I decided I was just going to let this stuff go all the way and make it into more of my fall stockpile. Well, I kind of decided against that for a couple of reasons, and one was we're still in a bad drought and we don't have a lot of grass to graze. So this is by far the best forage on our property, and I think I'd rather utilize it while I think it's still good versus letting it get drought stricken and getting almost nothing out of it later this fall. So I think, you know, there's a lot of risk of losing the material there. The other risk I see with this plot is grazing it and having a prussic acid type issue and getting cows sick, or even worse, losing some of these cattle. Now, I've done a little research. I've talked to a few friends who've used this stuff some, and it sounds like the cowpeas are very low risk for pretty much anything. I mean, you could get bloat, but my cows are on green grass, so I'm not too worried. And then, but the big one is the prussic acid with the sorghum sudangrass. So what I did is I made this section small, so you can see a fence right there, and you can't really see it because all the grass, but there's a fence right through there. It's only like 15 yards wide and I don't know, maybe about 100 yards long. And this first section has the least amount of sorghum sudangrass, and you can see some of it is a little stressed, but it's not terrible. I mean, it's kind of in senescence, so it's maturing. It could be half the reason why it's turning brown. And half of this field that I put them in is this stuff here, and the other half is actually just the hay grass. So I think they'll get some stuff to help balance their diet a little bit, hopefully. So what I really love is anybody who's got experience with either of these crops. You know, I could be making a huge mistake here, and it's probably too late by the time you guys would give me some input, but it would really help me if y'all have experience with either of these. So the sorghum sudangrass, and in particular dealing with prussic acid poisoning. Now, I never fertilized, so I think that lowers my risk as well. And we still haven't come out of the drought. So, you know, again, reading about it, you know, right after you come out of a drought, it sounds like it's one of the highest risk points. So you've been drought and it's really drought stressed, and then you get a bunch of rain and you put the cows on. It sounds like that's probably the highest risk time, and we haven't come out of the drought, so we haven't gotten any rain yet. So You can see I mowed these lines to get through here. So even though I've got a lot of concerns, I think the potential rewards are greater than the concerns. And I guess if we do have any problems, you'll see in the subsequent videos any issues we had. One other concern I always have with calves is this area is outside of our primary fenced area. So these are being held with just electric fence. So I did take a little bit of an extra measure. So this is one of the divider fences, and I've got the adjustable clips. So I've got the fence set a little bit lower than normal, mostly for the calves. My cow herd is really good about not crossing single strand electric. So you can see on the perimeter I put a double strand just to give me a little bit more protection for keeping the calves in. I'm just gonna put me a little jumper wire on here real quick to make sure I stay hot on these cross fences I put in here. But like I said, you can see it's pretty narrow. You can see both ends of it. A lot of it is this bahia. So this is some pretty decent bahia here. It hasn't been grazed in like 3 or 4 months. And it's one of the cow's favorites. So they'll have some filler that is not the legumes or the sorghum sudangrass. So I think it'll help a little bit. And see the cows are coming to check this out already. Not all of them, but at least a few of them have already come out to here. I guess while we're at it, we ought to check our, see if our fence has got any heat. Let's see, yeah, you can see it there. So that's flashing at about 7,000 volts. So we got pretty much full charge on this fence. But you know cows, they got to come check out every single thing. So they walked right through some of the best grass they've ever seen in their life, and they're coming to eat the bahia, which is just something they know. It's common, it's what they're used to. It's kind of funny, a lot of them are just eating that, which I like to see. I don't want to see them just gorge on one thing, because then you do have some risk. But hopefully we don't lose a calf in here. And I didn't put any water in here because I don't want them bedding down in here. I want them to have to go back into the main part of the pasture and get water, which isn't that far, but you can see this stuff is insane. There are cows in here, I promise you. Let's see if we can find one. And you can see it's definitely over their heads. And my observation with the cows is if they're starving, they will eat poisonous stuff. It's stuff that's not necessarily good for them. But when they have plenty of food to eat, they tend to be pretty intelligent about what they eat. So you see this cow right here, I mean, she's nosing up the stuff she normally would just gobble up. But she must have decent fill in her because she's clearly searching for something that might be her favorite. See another cow in there. I mean, it's hilarious that these 1,200 pound cows literally just disappear in here. I mean, I could disappear in here. There's your bull right there. He's just checking it all out. But yeah, I'm surprised we've managed this well through this summer drought, which I think is a real testament to the rotational grazing practices we've been doing here, where I think we have built up our organic matter in our soil a good bit. I believe we've improved the root depth of a lot of our plants by grazing and giving significant rest periods, and I think it's really helping. So, and then I'm really curious to see if we get any regrowth before winter comes. So, around here in South Louisiana, we have an extremely long growing season, so it will be very curious to see if maybe we can get lucky and get some rain and actually get some regrowth on this and still be able to stockpile it. So like I said, this was a test plot. I figure we're really going to test it this year. We're not going to try to optimize anything. We're going to just push the limits of how many times can we graze it, how hard can we graze it, really any risks to the animals, because if this does turn out to be a problem for some of the animals, then it's not something I want to repeat on more acreage. So I think it's all answers I've got to find out. This is probably the worst drought we've had, and I forgot what they said, but something like ever, maybe. And so if we can grow these kind of crops without any appreciable rain all summer, so I planted this stuff very early spring. We got a couple of rains real early spring, and then we had absolutely nothing other than a couple of like 1/8 or 1/4 inch rains throughout the summer that amounted to, I don't know, something like only a few inches since March. So really a virtual drought. And we seem to have been able to grow this forage. So if this grows, then I'm definitely repeating if I don't have any incident here with grazing it this late into the fall. This is pretty hilarious to see these animals in here. I'm curious to see what it looks like after one day. I'm thinking I can leave them in each section for at least 2 days. I'm hoping for 3. If I can get 3 days out of this first section, the next 2 are a little bit bigger. Maybe I can get a 4th day out of each of those, get the animals off of it, and get a regraze in November. So all that lush forage in there, and they worked their way through it, and I would say the majority of the animals are out here eating this bahia grass, which I guess I understand. It's something they're more used to, so they're kind of testing their palate and their stomach on this other stuff, make sure they don't get in a bind, and they're filling up on this bahia, which I love to see because it makes me feel good that we won't have any problems with animals overeating something that might be toxic or cause bloat. So give these old cows some credit. They're not quite as dumb as some people say. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys being part of the channel. Like I said, leave me some comments. Let me know your thoughts on some of this stuff. If you think it's too risky, you think it's a good idea, you see ways I can improve. I'm always open to thoughts and ideas, and you guys have always provided me some good feedback and helped me think through problems and all. So I think this is one where I have zero experience. There's a lot of things I've fooled with livestock, but these summer annuals like this is something I have an absolute zero experience with, other than what I've done this year. So again, let me know what you think, and we're gonna keep moving forward with Stringer Bridge Farms. So appreciate you guys, and y'all take care. We'll see you on the next one.